Hello, wanderers of the internet. It's been a little minute. I feel like the trend of the past, I don't know, 3 to 4 years, it's always been a little minute. 9 days ago, on Tuesday, March 31st, I gave birth to my 4th child, my 2nd daughter, also my final child. I ain't doing this again. My beautiful Miss Charlotte Marie Lynn. Fucking bitch ass train wants to go through town now. Of course. Of course. What the fuck? And I'll mock the train like I mock my kids when they whine. I don't mock my kids when they whine, but sometimes if I can tell it's like a little fake whine, like that they're just like, they're not actually even upset, they're just trying to do it for attention, and I'm like, I'll do it right with them. God, hurry up. These trains take fucking forever too. Like once it's going through town, they gotta stop and then back up and then go. Like, I'll be back. The train's finally gone, but baby girl woke up needing a bottle. But I'm just gonna continue talking while I feed her because I got 4 freaking kids. There is not hardly a moment of my day where there isn't some kind of children needing something or child play chaos going on around me. This is still the quietest it's gonna get because my other 3 are watching the Mario movie in their room right now. I'm 9 days postpartum. I would like to go in detail talking about my labor and delivery and also the very early stages of postpartum because earlier this week I was admitted back into the hospital for a uterine lining infection. So that has been really interesting. But one thing I wanted to just kind of start off the video with, a lot's happened since I last made a vlog, I think in like December. I'm pretty sure I ended that last vlog off with getting COVID and finishing up a commission, or at least that's just some of the stuff I remember from that. Since then, the dynamic of our household has changed, not just with the new baby, but co-parenting situation has changed, or rather ceased, to put it bluntly, and I don't know how much of the details I will share about that right now, but just, you know, lots of transitions. I've obviously spent the past couple months preparing for the new baby. Daxter turned 2. I gave birth. I'm 9 days postpartum. That gets us caught up to now. And I wanted to mention some of the things that are on my radar over the next couple weeks to a month because I think I'm going to make this vlog a little bit longer, specifically because of one of the events that is coming up that's a little, actually I think exactly a month out. And that particular thing in question is that I have signed up for my first craft and vendor fair. Now I live in rural Illinois, so when I talk about what's local to me, it could be 10 miles from me, it could be 50 miles from me. You know, when you live rurally in really small towns, you're used to driving a 40 to 45 minute drive, sometimes for work or sometimes for grocery shopping because that's where your nearest Walmart is, like things of that nature. But one of the somewhat local events that is coming up in one of the smaller towns is there is a drive-in called the Harvest Moon Drive-In, and it is world famous because drive-in movie theaters are not that common anymore. I think there's less than 300 in the world anymore. Next month they are doing a spring fling craft and vendor fair on Mother's Day weekend, so it'll be the Saturday before Mother's Day on May 9th. And a couple weeks ago I had impulsively decided to apply to sell my art and, you know, crafty creative products at that market. Now I have been wanting to do a craft or art market, you know, one of the local ones, either whether it was a small town one or one of the ones in the bigger cities around me. But every time that one came up with applications and, you know, everything else, I'd always ended up contemplating it and then chickening out last minute. I was like, no, now it's not the right time. I got too much going on. Like, I don't even know how I'd get together everything. Like, what would I even sell? Because besides commissions, I haven't really actually put together any products before, like prints or anything like that. And so I would always back off and not decide to apply or try to get into one because I would always tell myself, no, not the right time. A few weeks ago, I had seen that applications had opened up for this one, and I had the money for the booth fee should my application get approved. And so I very impulsively applied, got approved, and paid the fee and told myself I would figure out the rest over the next month. So when I applied, it was already only about a month and a half now. Now we're exactly a month from the date, and I'm freshly postpartum, a single mom of 4 kids, and I've got a month to arrange some products and design some new prints and illustrations and basically get all my ducks in a row for this fair. Now, why would I decide to do such a thing when I am so freshly postpartum? I've got so many kids to take care of, so many responsibilities, with only a month to do it all in, because I'm crazy, okay? That's what it's gotta be, right? Good morning. It's been a little bit since I've sat in front of the camera and talked. What's up, honey? It's alright, it's still usable. There you go, you got it clicked back on. Good job.
Good.
It's been a little bit since I've sat here or sat anywhere in front of the camera and talked. And I don't mean like a severely long time, I mean like maybe a week. I can't remember, and I was gonna look back through the files on my camera, but then I remembered I transferred everything to my computer because my memory card was full, and then I formatted my memory card, so I can't look and see when the last one was. I'd have to open my laptop, which I know it's right next to me, but I don't feel like doing that right now.
What kind of makeup is this?
That's lip ointment. You wanna go down and get your clips? I'll do your hair.
Ew, sticky butts.
Can you go down and get your clips so I can do your hair? Yeah.
After you're done with your makeup, I can't go get my clips.
Okay. Right now, I'm getting my makeup and my hair because I'm gonna be going to see the Mario movie, the new Mario movie, the Galaxy one. This is actually my second time seeing it because I actually saw it last week. Me and my sister Carly took my oldest 2 kids to see it because it was the day before Scarlett's birthday, and so that was actually their first not only experience going to the movies all together, but it was also their first drive-in movie experience, and I think they had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. It was definitely a good memory. We got to go up to the snack bar. I was gonna get 3 of their little collectible Mario hats that they were selling, but they only had 1 left, so I bought 1, and I'm like, y'all are gonna have to share, because I was gonna buy 1 for Dallas and Scarlett, and then 1 to bring home to Dexter as well. But I got the last Mario hat for them, and then me and Carly both got one of those like collectible little popcorn buckets. The ones at the drive-in aren't any of those like ridiculous designs that you're seeing for popcorn buckets for a lot of movies these days that are like all molded and just impractical as hell. It's just like a normal, you know, popcorn bucket, but it's got a design like with the movie, like a little picture on the side, which I think is nice. We've been using that when we watch movies at night ever since. Also, my friend works at this particular drive-in, and he was up at the snack bar when we went up and got our popcorn and cotton candy and collectibles, so he was the one who got to spin the cotton candy for them. We got to talk for a few, which was really nice. I told Dallas and Scarlett, because it had actually been a little while since they had seen in person, and I was like, you know, you guys are getting the best cotton candy, like the most special cotton candy in the world, because the person making your cotton candy is Mom's first ever friend, which prompted Dallas to like ask me all sorts of questions in the car, because he's going through that phase where he's just got a million questions about everything. And so he's asking me like, how long have you really known him if he was your first friend, and like, how old were you guys when you met? I was telling him all about how we met on the first day of preschool and everything else, and how he does art too, just like Mommy does. He just thought all of it was like the coolest thing in the world. Today I'm not taking the kids with though. We're kind of having a little cousin reunion on my mom's side. Or that's what I'm gonna call it, because it's pretty much the cousins. So it's gonna be me, my sister and her fiance Caleb, my cousin Grace and her husband Connor, and then my cousins Austin and Lainey. And we're all gonna go meet at the theater here in a little bit after I drop the kids off with my mom. I don't get to spend a lot of time with hardly any of my cousins anymore. I mean, most of us are grown besides Lainey, but Lainey's approaching like 15. Yeah, I think she's 15. But all of the rest of us are adults, and so obviously we get busy with whether it's our jobs or, you know, for me, it's taking care of 4 kids. And so to be honest, it felt like we had all kind of grown apart getting busy with our lives. And so I'm really excited to be able to go with everybody today. And specifically me and Austin, we used to be literally joined at the hip, like all throughout our childhood. I got out of the movies a little while ago. By the way, I can't even show you the full fit, damn it. I dressed up for the occasion, okay? Before I decided to leave town, there was one place I wanted to stop because last night I tried to place like a rush Walmart delivery order on some Splat Midnight Jade green hair dye because I want to try a different color in my hair, and I've decided I'm gonna go with green, but the motherfuckers never showed up. So I got the order canceled and I was gonna go to Walmart, but I figured since I'm in town and if I'm gonna get the hair dye in town, I might as well go to Sally Beauty. So I went. And I decided to get Arctic Fox. I'm honestly not that familiar with the different hair dye brands and stuff. So I've actually never used Arctic Fox dye before. I didn't do my research. I just went in, I was looking around, and they had the little like hair samples of what the shades looked like. And I liked the way that this looked on the sample. So this is the one we're gonna go home and try here in a bit. But I didn't let the fun stop there. Recently, this town got a Daiso, okay? As in like the Japanese stationery and home goods store. I wanted to go in and check out Daiso because this is the first one that's like anywhere near here. The closest one before that was in Chicago, and I think I spent about $25 in there. All the stuff in there is really cheap. I was honestly surprised, but most of what I got in there isn't even like stationery or the stuff that I was actually looking at there. I got a ton of shit for this vendor fair coming up to make my display racks and stuff for way cheaper than it would have been if I had bought this shit online. Before I hit the road to go pick up the kids and then go home, I thought maybe I'd do a little haul. First off, I got these 2 wire racks. They're like rectangle and long. I got 2 of them. That's because I want to put clips on them and be able to like clip up my different prints and stuff for the vendor fair is kind of like a display rack thing. The other 2 things in this bag, one is a clear folder with like 30 slots in it, transparent slots in it. I want to use this for my portfolio because part of my booth I'm going to have my portfolio on display and like a QR code with the form if you want to actually commission custom artwork for me. And then the other one I got was a slightly harder document case with like 6 or 8 different slots in it, and that's to transport my prints back and forth. So when I set up and tear down, I'll put the prints in here. Then we have the bag with my smaller stuff. I got 2 of these little slide style catalog and menu stands, and I'm hoping that these work to hold up the wire racks. If not, I'll have to figure something else out and I can use these for something else. I might need to get like some kind of paperweight or something that I can set on the back of them just to keep them from moving around. I got this little 5 slot organizer box that has like this like almost like a lattice trim on the side. I think that's what it's called. And I'm gonna use this to put my stickers in for the vendor fair. So I'm gonna have the different designs, like 1 design per slot. Then I found these little stands which are advertised as wooden dish stands, and I'm gonna put my prints like in the little cellophane wraps in these. And then I also got a bag of silver spring clips for the wire rack. And then the last 2 things I got are not related to the vendor fair at all, and they were just little things that I thought were so cute. They had a lot of cute stuff in there. I really had to restrain myself. But if you know me, you know that one of my favorite Disney movies is Big Hero 6, and they had some different like Big Hero 6 and Baymax stuff in there. I settled for 2 small items, okay? You gotta be proud of my impulse control there. The first thing I got was this little pouch with Baymax on it, and then the other thing I got was also Big Hero 6 related, and it's a pack of 3 different Baymax stickers. Anyway, I better quit yapping and get to driving before my mama calls me asking me if I'm alive and freaking the fuck out. It's honestly crazy. You grow up and then when you have kids, you gotta ask your parents to go out again. I have managed to get some vendor fair prep stuff done, but I'm gonna have to show you that here in a bit. It's just past 10 o'clock. It's Thursday night. This week the oldest 2 don't have school tomorrow on Friday, which I am really grateful for because trying to get up at 6 and get the kids up by 6:30 to get everybody ready and off to school while being sleep deprived as fuck from waking up with a baby every 2 hours and also just dealing with some postpartum hormone induced insomnia. It's been quite the challenge, and I'm glad I get a little bit of a break from that Now Scarlett and Daxter will still have daycare tomorrow, but whenever Dallas and Scarlett don't have school on a day that Scarlett and Daxter have daycare, I send them later in the morning. So we get to sleep in a little bit. I say that like there isn't going to be at least one kid up by 7 anyway, so it's not going to be too much sleeping in. But you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to show you how I do my night prep with a newborn. After all, if I'm going to show you it, I got to show you it now because I ain't never going through this shit again. This is my last baby. Next month, my fallopian tubes are gonna be on the chopping block, man. Obviously, I'm not a first-time mom, so the whole sleep when the baby sleeps, that's bullshit when you have multiple kids, because when the baby's sleeping during the day, you still got other kids to take care of. With that being said, I try to save myself a little bit of energy between the lack of sleep and also just my chronic illness in the middle of the night, especially if I'm sleep deprived. I do not want to try and have to go down the stairs and back up and down and up every couple hours just to make a bottle or to grab the stuff to change a diaper. So I'm gonna show you my newborn night basket, alright? I did this when Daxter was a newborn too, but I'll show you what's already in here, okay? First off, diapers. I think there's like 4 or 5 in here. And then this bag right here has diaper rash ointment and a pacifier in it. Right next to that, I've got a onesie folded up just in case she would either spit up or, you know, have like a blowout or anything, to where I don't have to walk down the stairs or all the way across the hall and risk waking the other kids up just to get an outfit. I also have one of my Velcro swaddles for her in here. That won't stay in here because once we do go upstairs, I will get her in a fresh diaper, a fresh onesie, and then put this on her before I lay her in the bassinet next to my bed. And then we got a package of wipes because that's obviously a necessity. And then there's this little empty space here in the bin, and in that space that is in this bin, I will put some pre-prepped stuff so that way I can make her bottle right there upstairs in bed and I don't have to go all the way downstairs to make one. And I thought I'd show you how I do that. Alright, I use the Tommy Tibby bottles for her. I've used them with all of my kids. So I just have 2 bottles that are filled to the 6-ounce line, gallon water, like the purified that you get in the store. The specific bottles I have also have these little anti-colic valves, so I just pop these in and then I screw the lid on, and then I also put the cap on it. No, the caps don't always match because I also have other bottles that don't have the anti-colic valves, and I don't really care what cap I put on it as long as it's got a cap. So there's that all done. The other nifty little thing I have, which is also Tommy Tippy brand, are these little formula containers. And normally if you have the bottles that don't have the anti-colic valve in the middle, these actually just perfectly sit in the lid like this. And they're made for traveling on the go because then you can pre-scoop however many scoops that you want, because then all you have to do is pull the cap off right here and then dump it in there. Now, since my bottles have the anti-colic valves in them, I can't actually stick these directly in the bottle, but I wouldn't do that anyway since I pre-measure the water. But what I am going to do is pre-measure 2 of these containers with 3 scoops of formula each, because it's 1 scoop for every 2 ounces, and I've filled these bottles up to 6 ounces. Snap those on there, and just like that, I've got 2 of these that are pre-measured, and so when she wakes up in the night, I can take the cap and the lid off, and then I just dump this in there. It's ready, and I don't have to go up and down my long ass stairs twice in a row in the middle of the night when I am not fully alert and sleep deprived just to get her a bottle, because I've got all the stuff right there. So now what we'll do is we'll put these bottles, pop them right in there. Formula containers stacked on top of each other in there. And there is my completed newborn night prep basket. One more thing I'm gonna pop in there is the baby monitor, because the oldest 2 fell asleep on the couch tonight, and I do have a baby monitor set up in the living room, in their bedroom, and one over the bassinet. So this way I can still go upstairs and comfortably sleep in my bed, but have eyes on them whether they're sleeping in their own beds in their room or if they fall asleep on the couch. And now all that's left to really do is to gather up my stuff in a night prep basket, take it upstairs, and then get little Miss Charlotte out of her swing and take her upstairs to the bassinet too. And then we can lay down and maybe try to get some rest.
I can't guarantee I'm gonna succeed because my brain is still kind of like wired right now, but we'll see.
What are you up to, Shelby? Oh, nothing. Just making bad decisions for my health. I don't know. I feel like in the grand scheme of things, having a Monster Energy at 11:30 at night, there's worse things, much worse things that I could be doing. Like, I could be doing crack. I live in rural Illinois. Crack is everywhere. Every motherfucker around the corner is on crack. Or I could still be with either of the men I procreated with. Much worse and much more dangerous things I could be doing. And I'm not even one of those people that drinks energy drinks every day. I just decided I was gonna have one. And where normal people, it would help them to stay up longer. Usually energy drinks put me to sleep. So I'll probably end up chugging this and then passing the fuck out. Y'all, I looked at the calendar. How did 4 weeks until this vendor fair turn into 2? And you wanna know what I got done? Not the amount of shit I should have done for being 2 weeks out. I can tell you that. And it's been hard the past few days because I've had a really, really fussy baby and then some really, really feral toddlers. Like, I'm just over here trying to survive, man. I won't say I got nothing done though, because that would make me a fucking liar. I did finish the like rough draft composition sketches for the 3 print designs I'm wanting to make. Speaking of fussy babies, look at her right on cue. I did not film the process for it because I was having to get up literally like every 3 to 4 minutes, whether it was Charlotte having a rough time or one of the other kids needing something or just getting distracted because I'd get up for something, then I'd see something that need cleaned and I'd just kind of get to that and then I'd be like, oh yeah, I was doing this. I know you can't see them very well, so I will show them better, but the top 2 are the ones that are like kid room themed, and then this bottom one is kind of like a collage of a bunch of different things. And that is for an illustration for a print and then a subsequent sticker that I will bundle with that I'm going to title Hobby Hopper. You know the term homie hopper? Well, listen, I ain't gonna shame the sluts over here. I'm too much of a homebody and dislike people too much for that. But I can tell you something, I do hop at a very alarming rate, and that is my various hobbies. And that is what inspired this print. I've got too many passions and not enough free time. So I just kind of sporadically go through phases where I'll really get into one thing and then I'll go move on and have a phase where I work on another hobby really intensively. I kind of like hyper fixate on them and then just change and go through phases. And then eventually we cycle through all of them and I go right back. I'm going to scan these. I'm not sure whether I'm going to digitally or if I'm going to just like upscale the sketch to an 8x10, print it, and then use my light box, do the full color final rendering traditionally. Still haven't decided yet. Another thing I did was I did go through some of my old art and I did find 2 different illustrations. One that I wanted to make into a print that I did back in like 2022, and it was a self-portrait in gouache of like my own stretch marks, and I just titled it Mom Bod. I don't know, me personally, I felt like that piece was very empowering for me and there was a lot of emotion behind it, and I feel like a lot of other women might enjoy for what it symbolizes. And then another design I had previously made, this was for a sticker and this was relatively simple. There wasn't really any drawing, more so lettering, which also pertains to motherhood. I had designed a little lettering sticker a while back, like late last year, that just had a couple different like sparkle objects on it, and then it said in cursive lettering, big back, bitter ass, baby mama bitch. And I made that to kind of make humor of the kind of insults that definitely in my experience, the men that I've procreated with have said about me. I think a lot of single mothers in this day and age can definitely relate to having to deal with that kind of rhetoric. And so what better than to just embrace and kind of poke fun at it? Like, frankly, I'll put that shit on a t-shirt and wear it proudly. And I know I'm not the only one. And I had actually cleaned the design up for that bitter baby mama sticker. And I had it ready to print and then cut out in my Cricut. Now, I haven't hooked up my Cricut in like 3 years. And so I get it all hooked up. I get my software updated. I get everything ready. And that's when I realized that I don't have my mat for my Cricut anywhere in sight. And that's when I start ripping apart through different closets and cabinets and drawers, trying to find it, because I knew I had one that was brand new that I bought when there was some on clearance at Walmart like 5 or 6 months ago, because I was like, I know at some point I'm gonna finally get my Cricut back out, make stickers, do all that. I'm gonna need a mat for it because I don't have one. But I couldn't find it anywhere, and that really just ruined my mood for the night, because I was sitting here trying to feel productive and thinking like, oh yeah, I can have some tangible progress made toward this vendor fair stuff and all the products I'm trying to make for it. Instead, I had to go on Amazon and order a new Cricut mat, which will be here Sunday. Wah, wah, wah. We are officially 8 days away from this vendor fair, which really means we have only 7 days left to get everything done, because I'll be setting up bright and early at like 7:30 in the morning that day. I gotta have everything done and ready and packed the night before. And I'm nowhere near where I should be. We got this full moon in Scorpio energy really helping support the lock the fuck in aspect, at least for me personally. I got my oldest son in the background. He's playing Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach on my Xbox right now, and that's got me inspired. So out of the 3 prints that I have yet to digitalize, I'm gonna work on the gaming themed one first. Alright y'all, so that first print design I did, I actually made a corresponding sticker of just the controller from that print design. And I busted out my Cricut machine for the first time in years. Now I'm having a little bit of trouble with the vinyl, like the backing sticking to the mat and like not coming up all the way in one piece. So for that, I decided to take one of my cellophane bags that I use to package the prints, and I just like cut it to where I had both sides laid out flat. And I'm just pre-weeding the vinyl stickers off of the backing and then putting them on the cellophane as a new backing, which seems to work pretty effectively. You can still peel it off and the adhesive seems to be just as efficient. I will update later though if that ends up not being the case, because I'll probably check on it here in a couple days as well. And with that being said, I'm gonna wait a day or two to print out another set of these, because if the cellophane backing doesn't end up being efficient and like it makes it lose its adhesion, then I'm gonna have to figure out something else. I'm about to do a live stream on TikTok because I have finished
2 of my print designs now. Printed them out, but I need to trim them and package them. And I figured I've done enough video footage of me packaging some of this stuff out, which I might still film. But I think a good way to market for this vendor fair might be to actually live stream while I do it and chat with people. So that's what I'm getting ready to do. It's Wednesday night, which means we have the rest of tonight, tomorrow, and Friday to finish everything else we need for this vendor fair. Because Saturday morning, I'll be setting up my booth at 7:30 in the morning. I'm a little bit intimidated by how much I have left. I'm not gonna lie. And then I just keep making more work for myself because I keep deciding to add more things to my product list. Like, for example, I've decided that I'm going to be offering both 8x10s and 5x7s of all of my print designs. In addition to that, I was hoping to try and make some clay magnets, and I've realized if I want to do that, I'm gonna need to get on it. As well as there's these travel sketch kits that I'm making for the vendor fair that I still need to assemble and package together as well. And you know what? I've listed all of that off, and I feel like there's still even more that I haven't mentioned yet. I'm gonna watch back through this clip I just filmed, and I'm gonna start compiling a list on a piece of paper of every single thing I need to do left for this fair. Alright, y'all. I think I've come up with a pretty exhausted list. And I did include things that I've already gotten done or partially done, and I'm just using one of my red journaling pens to check off the boxes that I've already completed. So last night, as you know, I wrote that whole checklist of everything left that needs to get done. I did also work on some little clay pieces, which are currently drying on one part of the desk behind me. I also finished printing and trimming the rest of the 5x7s of the Be the Magic print, and I printed the 5x7s of the Mom Bod print, but I still have yet to trim them. But I actually want to talk about something that's non-vendor fair related for a second, because I feel like this vlog has very much been vendor fair heavy, and it's supposed to be life and art vlog. So I'm going to talk to y'all about something else really exciting that's going on in my life right now, and that is that as of today, I am officially
starting my first course going back to college. I'm going to a different school than what I was going to before. The university I'm attending this time is an all online one versus the one before was a community college nearby in the area. As much as the community college I was formerly going to does have some hybrid options, I feel like being a single mom of 4 kids and also being disabled, having any in-person time is really just unreasonable for me. But online, when I can sit down at a computer, self-paced, do the work, that is a lot more manageable with my physical limitations, both from my disability as well as time and freedom raising 4 kids alone. As far as what I am going back to college for, it is a little bit different than my original path that I first started on back in 2019 when I first left high school. When I first left college, I was going for an associate's degree in digital media, which is like some aspects of computer science and some more of like art type of stuff, such as 2D and 3D modeling, web design, 2D and 3D animation, coding, that kind of thing. It was a very broad spectrum degree, and it was an associate's, which was going to take me 2 years, because then after that you could go through one of their transfer programs to transfer to one of the bigger universities and have those credits go toward a bachelor's in programs that are more specified to specific areas of what you learn in that associate's. This time, however, I'm going for bigger fish. I'm going for my bachelor's of science in information technology and cybersecurity. Now, would I eventually like to still learn the skills that I was on track to learn for that associate's degree that I started pursuing some 7 or so years ago? Yes, eventually I would. My dream career when I was pursuing that career path was video game development. And while I would still like to work on video games at some point in the future, whether it's the art or the coding aspect, or work in 2D and 3D animation, which is also a topic that degree kind of encompassed as well, I feel like where I live and my responsibilities as a mother, it's not as feasible or realistic to try and find video game development work and 2D and 3D animation work that is based in rural Illinois. There was a AAA rated studio relatively close to me back when I was originally pursuing this degree, and that was like my dream place to work. And that was Deep Silver Volition Studios based out of Champaign. They are most known for the Saints Row game. However, as of a few years ago, they have since shut down and ceased operation. Plus, the weird little autistic kid that's still inside me, she always loved a good indie banger. So honestly, not only is it really not feasible in the location sense to try and find a traditional workplace in game development or animation, but also I'd prefer to work on passion projects and that sort of stuff and work with like-minded individuals at some point in the future if I ever have the opportunity, because indie developers are where it's at. And you might sit there thinking, well, if you really live in rural Illinois surrounded by miles and miles of cornfields between towns, how does a bachelor's of science in information technology and cybersecurity really prepare you for many job opportunities in the area? And to answer that, I can name multiple places here in the town I live in, as well as other small towns surrounding me and bigger towns where there's hospitals, school districts who all have their own IT departments. Not only that, but I've noticed a lot of small businesses in the area who have brick and mortar offices are also recruiting individuals to be kind of IT help. There's a truck that sits in my kids' school's parking lot that belongs to one of the employees who also on the side works in IT, and it's a small business specifically for intermittent IT help and also like phone and electronic repair, which I can already do a decent amount of electronic repair. I'm just not really certified in the stuff. Like when something's fucked with my computer or my phone, I don't go sending it to somebody to fix. I'll buy the parts, I have the toolkits necessary, and I will read through the manuals and whatever I need to do, and I'll repair it. I mean, literally, as I say this, I have a battery for my old gaming laptop that is set to come in the mail early next week. And I actually got a pretty good deal on one new to where it didn't cost me an arm and a leg. Now, there is a chance this laptop could still end up being a lost cause, because if it's something wrong with the motherboard, obviously, I think the cost to replace that and try to swap everything out, that's probably not worth it. And besides, I have a laptop that is actively working. I'm literally just repairing this one
to do it. And then I figured I could use it as a spare and maybe try to get my oldest 2 kids who are starting to get into like video games and stuff. I could use it to show them how Minecraft works on the computer, or the fan-made FNAF game Glitched Attraction. My son really likes watching the gameplays of that, and I do too. But that's one that's exclusively available on PC because it's a fan-made game. And maybe that's something if I had a spare computer, so I knew I wasn't risking a 5-year-old fucking up my main one, that I could download that and let him play. And look at that, through the course of our yapping, now we got all the 5x7s of the mom bod prints trimmed. Go us! I actually think I formatted these a bit too small, because these are most definitely a good, I think, inch shorter, so I think these are 5x6. Actually, scratch that. I know what I can do with these. Instead of 5x7s, I measured these out, and there's enough room on the sides to where if I trim some more of the excess off the ends, I could make these into 4x6 prints. I will have to remake my print display to include something for 4x6 prints, but it's fine. I'm currently cutting out a stencil that I can use on this big ass banner that I'm trying to make for this show tomorrow. I originally had printed it out on cardstock. I realized that wasn't gonna work because there's certain little pieces within the lettering that aren't gonna stick down for me to paint that way. Cut out a stencil, which you can't see yet. And then I'm gonna assemble it on the banner and I'm gonna paint in where the stencil is. Fun stuff, but I gotta weed this damn thing first. Alright y'all, today's the day! And by the day, I mean today is the vendor show. There's a couple of my products that I didn't end up getting finished the way I had hoped. But that's alright, because I think I still got a pretty good assortment, especially with having the 2 different sizes of the prints. It'd be a fun and interesting time, I think. I managed to fit everything in like a medium-sized box. And then I got my table and 2 chairs. I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna be honest, even if I don't make a single sale, I'm still gonna be happy to have attended the event. Kind of learn how this sort of stuff works, because this is my first time ever doing one of these. So the goal isn't to sell out or even really to sell, it's to gain experience. But before I get up there, I am gonna stop at the gas station and grab something small to eat, because I woke up a little bit later than intended, like a half hour later than what I wanted to, due to the fact it took me a lot longer than anticipated to do the illustration that I did on my banner late last night. It's windy as fuck. Hello. It is the following Monday, and I didn't get a chance to sit in front of the camera and talk sooner about how the vendor fair went, because when I got back, I was deep cleaning my downstairs. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and I spent the whole day deep cleaning my bedroom. Not to mention, I've been extremely fatigued because that morning of the vendor show, I woke up at 6:30, but I had only went to bed 3 hours prior at like 3:30. I'd say my first ever vendor show went really well. I only made a couple sales, but as I mentioned, that wasn't really my priority. The biggest thing that I wanted to gain from this vendor show was experience. I've never done one of these before, so it was just being able to have done one at all for the first time to kind of get my foot in the door so I could do future events. Learning a little bit about what my personal setup and teardown process would look like. This particular vendor show was at a venue that I have a friend who personally works there, so he stepped away early on to help me set up my canopy and things like that I was initially having trouble with because I've never set up a canopy before. And he was sitting there like, I've never put up one of these before, and I'm like, well, then we're gonna learn together because I have no clue either. I just bought this thing. And I think that is the one thing that I will need extra hands for at future events is that damn canopy. And that's to say, if I'm ever attending any events that I don't need a canopy for, then that's not a problem. There were certain things such as like moving it to the right place and stuff. Yes, I could technically get it on my own now that I've done it once, but it would probably be a pain in the ass. I had a lot of people come up to my booth, ask me questions, take my card, and or say that they would be interested in reaching out to me about customs in the future. There was one individual in particular who came up and she told me that she was trying to make her entire house gothic and that she would definitely be reaching out to me to commission some custom pieces that she could put in her house. I really hope she follows through on that because forget the money aspect, I would be really excited to do that. I also had another girl who had a booth set up across from me over after she tore her booth down a little bit early, and she was giving me some information on other events in the area, kind of some of the stuff that she has learned, and she also took my card and said she would send me some info, some events in some of the bigger towns around here that she said she's had a bit more success at monetary sales wise, and she was telling me a little bit about her journey and getting into these markets and stuff, and she was really cool. I also learned what kind of people are more likely to be drawn to my booth versus the kind of products I prioritize selling. As we know, I was doing this on very much a time crunch, and so I prioritized products that would have a more wide range of audience, namely and especially products that could appeal to children. 2 out of the 3 print designs were ones that are common, like kids room decor themes, and especially those travel art kits I made those with kids in mind because I made the first prototypes of those for my own kids, which by the way they use religiously in the car, which is great for them and getting their imaginative ideas on paper, and it's good for me because I'm not being nagged every 5 seconds of, are we there yet? But while because I was on a time crunch, a lot of my products were more family and kid oriented, it was actually people with a lot more vibes similar to myself, like the alternative gothic, who were more drawn to my booth based on my displays and also what I look like. People who probably would have been more likely to buy from me if I had what I typically make art of and want to make products of, my normal niche and interests. And since I only made a few sales, I already have those more family kid oriented products still ready for the next event, which means that I can focus all of my energy for the next event that I schedule on more of those niche, my target audience products. But all in all, I think it was a really great experience, and I think I picked a good event to get my foot in the door. I also am really proud of myself for the attitude I have going in this and having a very open-minded, like broad goal. I know I've talked about how I've put off trying to get into this sort of stuff for the past few years. I would always tell myself that it wasn't the right time. I didn't have the extra funds for the initial investment, that kind of stuff. And you know what? I think I was right on it not being the right time before, but not for the reasons that I said it wasn't the right time way back then. If you've known me for years, you know that I have done a complete like 180 on my outlook on life. I have gone from a generally pessimistic person to what I would consider a healthy optimist. I'm not somebody who's into those toxic positivity, everything is love and light, because it certainly isn't, but I'm very much one of those everything is a phase, everything is temporary. Enjoy the good times while they're there and utilize those coping skills during the good times. That way you're more likely to utilize and be able to better cope during the bad times. I'm very much a negative emotions and experiences are a learning tool person rather than a minor inconvenience, I want to kill myself type of person, which is what I was years ago. And yes, those pessimistic parts are still within me, but I have learned to embrace them and to reassure them with the more current healthy mindset of myself, rather than shaming those old versions of me who are still deep within, who might still say, God, I'm so worthless over spilling a glass of milk. Instead, the more evolved version of me is like, hey,
Is that really the reality of the situation? Yes, it sucks that you spilled the milk, and it sucks that you now have a mess to clean up, and it also sucks that you're gonna have to wait a little bit to drink your milk because you spilled it and now have to pour another glass. Obviously, this is just a hypothetical example and not literal. Although I have cried over spilled milk before, I'm not gonna lie. But it's okay, it's not the end of the world. We'll get it cleaned up, pour another glass, and we'll move on with our day like nothing happened. It's okay to be upset about it. We don't have to live in that. We don't have to make what we're upset about our entire life. I think that's the greatest part of how I have evolved as a person, is those darker parts of me I am focused on reassuring and kind of almost gentle parenting through. But that evolved mindset and outlook on life is why I think I did pick the right time to get involved in these vendor shows and put my foot in the door with my art business and everything else. Because I can tell you, the me 3 years ago had a very rigid mindset and probably would have only viewed the show a success if she made a shit ton of sales. She would have been very focused on one specific goal and would have been absolutely devastated had she not reached that. But I tell you what, y'all, preparing for this vendor show left me with hours upon hours of footage for this vlog, which by the time you're seeing this part of the video, you've already seen all of what I've kept in. I have yet to see how long this thing is gonna end up being by the time I cut and trim and organize everything the way I want to. But I know there's a lot, and I know there's a decent chance it's gonna be a pretty long video. So I'm gonna call it here, and then I will just continue anything further into another one. If you have stuck it out this far, I really appreciate you watching and going through this first time experience with me. If you did enjoy it or have any feedback, I would love for you to leave a like or a comment. And as always, if you would like to see more of this hot mess, you can absolutely subscribe for more. But thank you for viewing, and I hope to catch you later.